A hearty hail and welcome to this interview done by the NRR Northern Runes Radio International Podcast. And this is a special interview, one of several special interviews that are going to be coming up. But this is a particularly special interview because we have a brand new network partner. And it's a first for the NRR because it's a video network partner who has a video channel on YouTube. And as we have proven over the last few weeks, we have the ability to put some video casts out there through our RSS feeds. This is exciting news for everybody, wherever you happen to be hearing this in the world. Now, you can stream, you can download, and you can also subscribe through RSS and iTunes. And that's, of course, the biggest recommendation, because then you never miss another episode, no matter whether it's from us or from our network partners that want to put something forward. And also, I wanted to let it be known, too, that this is a network partner from Europe, from Germany. And he is of Austrian origination. And his name is David. And he has a channel, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this correctly, Orkbar Isbitter. And, it's a powerful thing when, you start to see things going on around the world that are, awakening people. And I want to express a great deal of gratitude to David for taking the time to be with us here in this interview. Thanks for being with us today, David.
Thanks for having me.
There's going to be a lot of people that are listening to us that are just getting acquainted with you, because we put a link up to you on our partners page, which is northernrunesradio.com/partners.html. And you can go there and you can see that. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how you came to follow the ways of our ancestors and what inspired you to follow those ways.
I'm glad you asked, and it's actually quite a long story. When I was a small child, say 5 or 6 years of age, I started to have a strong pull towards ancient times. At first it was more medieval times, like all the knights and those knightly ideals. And quite soon I learned that those knightly ideals didn't come from Christianity, for the most part, and that they actually date back to a much earlier age. And so I started to, read books about ancient times. I started with the Iliad of Homer. Then I started reading books of Germanic legends and poems, which actually was a retelling of the Edda in a more modern and consumer-friendly language than the original. And I read the book. It had 900 pages, and I read it over and over and over again because I liked it so much. Then I started to listen to the Brother Grimm stories, and I found that quite some of them date back to the late Roman period and tell stories that are actually from our ancestors. And that was how I got interested. Then I had quite interesting happenings inside my own family, because in my family, spirituality runs deep. I have a father who has been practiced Buddhism and yoga for 40 years now, a bit more, I think. And he believes a lot in reincarnation. And once he brought it up because in my family, I had a great-grandfather that died, I think, 10 years before I was born. And people kept telling me that I totally look like him, that I act like him, that I have pretty much the same interests that he had. And so I did a little bit of research. And it is quite fascinating because he fought in World War I, and I have seen old photos of him. And we look almost like identical twins. I mean, he had the mustache, which I don't, and his hair was different, but pretty much everything else was the same. We have we do both have a very, let's say, strange walk. If I walk, everyone knows it's me because I don't know what it is, but I seemingly make some odd noise with my feet when I'm walking, and he did the same, and so everyone recognized it. My family told me that I did a lot of things just as he did, even expressing myself similar to him. And once I even had a dream where I dreamt of a strange house in a strange town. I've never seen either of those. But when I told my grandmother, she said that's pretty much the place that where my great grandfather did actually have a house and lived. I never visited it. It was quite a long way from where I was born, but it got me thinking. It got me actually believing in reincarnation. I don't know if it is real, but that's what I believe. I have no proof, but you know, when I researched things about my great grandfather, it just, yeah, the proof came quite up. The hints were stacking up, and yeah, that's what I believe. Then what actually got me into Asatru in special was an experience when I was 12 years old, I think, or 11, something around that. That was a quite interesting thing. I was walking home from school and was attacked by 2 German shepherds. Then I blacked out, don't know what happened. When I woke up, I was in hospital. I had been bitten by the dogs in the face. I have a scar here and one here and one here. And one of the dogs was dead. He had broken ribs, and the other ran away with just 3 legs because one was completely broken. So I have no idea what happened, but seemingly it didn't turn out too good for the dogs. A few nights later, when I was recovering, I had a very strange dream where I was walking in the woods and there was a black horse, and long story short, there was a sword inside in a stone, like in the Excalibur mythology, and the sword was making a strange sound. I would say it was singing, but it was metallic. It was like if you hit a blade, this vibrating sound, and it was beautiful. And then I walked to the blade, looked closer, and there were inscriptions on the blade. I remembered the symbols, but I had no idea what they actually are. So I had the luck that I had befriended an archaeologist who was actually specialized in Germanic history and past, and showed these symbols to her, and she took a look at the symbols that I drew for her and recognized them as runes. And I'm very sure that I haven't seen any runes before that date. And I just drew them, and she knew it was runes. She transcribed it, and it was something totally gibberish, and at first at least. And then she took out a book of hers and started researching, and actually this runic inscription was a 3-word sentence in Old Norse, which translated into German made a lot of sense to me. And that was the first dream where I felt like it didn't come from myself, because I was totally sure that at the age of 12 I didn't speak any Old Norse and haven't seen any runes before.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that was the start that got me so interested in the whole thing, that I started learning Old Norse, that I started to write in runes, that I started to actually read the Edda, German translation, of course. And that started my way into Asatru itself.
That's powerful. And, you know, there's so much that we need to remember, you know, especially when you're talking about reincarnation there, because there was a belief that among our ancestors that we reincarnated along our family lines. And, you know, we talk about our ancestors, and I I can't remember exactly who it was that said this, but it stuck with me. We think about our ancestors. Well, we are them. And it's what we do to carry on the torch. And what you're saying leads right into the next question, which is great, because I know this is something that I would like to see publicized far and wide. You've opened up this YouTube channel, and of course it's linked on our partner page, as I said. I was wondering if you could tell us what inspired you to start the YouTube channel itself, and the message that you're trying to get across.
That's another long story. The thing is, when I was 16, I had my first experiences with a special God. I mean, I started to act as a Jew at the age of 12, taking to the heart the 9 noble virtues and the sagas and everything, and tried to live up to that. And when I was 16, I had a huge quarrel with my mother and my stepfather. And that actually led to me having suicide thoughts, and it got me so far that I packed my last lunch into a backpack and went to the mountains to commit suicide and jump off the mountain cliff. And I had my lunch in the backpack. I started walking, and somewhere half the way up the mountain, I started to hear a voice inside myself. And the voice said, "Do you see those 2 rocks there?" And they were like really huge rocks. I don't know what the weight, but it was a lot. And I said yes. And the voice said, "Take one in your arms and the other in your backpack." "But there's my lunch." "Do it, take it in your backpack." Okay. So I threw my lunch away, took one stone in my arms, the other in the backpack, and I walked up the mountain. And it was a very hilly mountain, so to speak. It was a forest, and inside the forest, up the way to the mountain, were 2 hills. And the voice said I should climb one of those, and so I did, and dig 2 holes. I didn't have planned anything for the day anyway, so I started to dig 2 holes. After I was done, the voice told me to take those 2 rocks that I took with me and charge one with my past and the other with my suffering. So transfer my past to one stone and the suffering to the other stone, and then bury those 2. And that I did. After that, I felt really good, actually. And then the voice said, "You know what? You have done what I said, so I will show you what is inside you." And as it has happened the night before, there was a huge storm that, how do we say that? That threw a tree downside, so it lay on a rock at one end and on another tree with the other end. And the voice said, "Chop them through with bare hands." I was practicing martial arts for 10 years at that date, and I totally knew that's not gonna happen. You cannot chop a tree in half barehanded, no chance. "Try it," the voice said. And so I tried. I took my stance, zack, and the pain. I thought my hand is broken, and the voice started laughing like hell. And it said, "If you don't believe in yourself, who else should? Why should it work if you don't want it to work?" Now this time, and it said, "Try again. This time, if you can't believe in it, at least think about nothing. Empty your mind, do not think at all, do it again." I took my stance, did it again, and I know no one is gonna believe this. I'm also not believing it, really. But the tree broke in half in the middle and at the 2 ends where it was lying on the rock and the other tree. It broke 3 times in a single strike. I spent 2 hours checking if the tree was actually fresh or if it already was completely rotten, and it was fresh. And wondering, I went home. The next days, I realized another strange thing, that I had a special connection to wind. I mean, it could be just strange coincidence, but whenever it was a very hot summer and I liked to read my books on a tree that I climbed, And when I asked for wind, wind rose up. I tried this for about a week, and every time I asked for wind, there was wind rising up. I mean, it could be coincidence, I don't know. However, after this week, I had my first dream about Odin. There was a man with a white beard, like quite long actually, and one eye, and a spear and two ravens. And he spoke to me that I should, that I am kind of, I wouldn't say chosen, but kind of watched by him. That's the reason why I wear this. I don't know how to pronounce it in English, Valknut, you know, Odin's sign of Odin's chosen.
Indeed.
And he made very clear that following him is a very dangerous thing, that I will have to suffer a lot and go through a lot. But he also told me that, you know, heroes aren't shaped by sitting on the couch. That's not gonna happen. If you want to do something special, you have to be someone special and do things and get moving. And he told me the more I have to suffer through, the stronger I will become. So yeah, that's basically turned out very true. When I followed him, I had a very hard time the next 7 or 8 years that were really tough on me for various reasons, but I actually grew a hell lot in that time. I wisened up, I grew up, I got more reasonable, responsible. I grew with the 9 noble virtues. I was actually given the opportunity to use them even at times where they would turn against me. So kind of proving if I'm true to the cause or just doing it because it's easy. But as example, I quitted quite some very lucrative jobs because they weren't really, you know, not really fair, not really, they were kind of abusive and towards the people, towards the customer, where I felt that the company just plucked the money from them instead of actually giving something of worth. So I quit it. Then I had financial issues because I had no job, and to make it more short, I had another dream where I had, let's say, given the task to share my experiences, to share my knowledge, to basically spread the message. I first started a website, and the website is in Germany. Actually, it's quite good. It has about 50,000 visitors per day, and it's read quite a lot. I have gotten a lot of feedback. I'm quite known in the German Assetru community, and I thought, why not spread the message more globally? Because I felt if I'm just operating in the German-speaking area, there's just so many people who speak German and who can profit from it. So I started a YouTube channel, or better said, I wanted to start a YouTube channel. I actually just started it half a year ago. And that's pretty much what got me into starting it. But another thing that got me into it is that I have watched the BBC show Vikings. You may know it, and quite some other movies about Vikings. And I play computer games which often have Norse themes. And I was face palming so much at how badly some things about our ancestors and the faith are depicted. And I just wanted to set things straight and say, no, that's Hollywood. That's not how it really was. It's entertaining, okay? They do it because the audience wants to see that, okay? But it's not the real thing. And so I intended to clear up misconceptions and correct wrong ideas that people usually have. And also spread the message, of course, because I know a lot of people that seek a spiritual path and have no idea where to go. As example, my father practices yoga for 40 years and hasn't gotten anywhere because it's not really his thing. He struggles with the culture behind the whole thing. He struggles with the language and with quite some things of the mindset of those people, which he can't really get into his head. So he has basically wasted 40 years of his life following a path that doesn't really fit him. And I'm pretty sure there are many people like him who just do something from the Far East because that's popular, that's things they know, and they have no idea that there is a more, let's say, European or better Western culture thing that they could follow if they want to have this connection to nature. And quite a lot of people don't even know that such thing exists. If you talk about Germanic shamanism as example, the hell is that? Shamanism, I know that there were Christians and missionaries, but shamans, no. And so, and we're also flooded by Native American shamans, or better said, wannabe shamans. I doubt that they were ever raised in a tribe or something. And they make quite a buck with telling people how to be a shaman. And basically, I don't think they know themselves. I mean, they're so far disconnected from nature that it's hard to believe. In German, we have a special term for those. They are Asphalt shamanen, which would translate into concrete shamans, meaning a wannabe shaman who only knows the city and can't tell a deer from an elk. And yeah.
Yeah, and that's quite an important point to make. And actually, you got to the next question too while you were talking here, and you know, I can relate very strongly to what you're talking about and getting the message out, because that was one of the main reasons why the NRR was formed too. Because you know, I look around in my country. I'm from Canada. And we have a lot of listeners in many different places in the world, in the United States and in Europe too. But, you know, I looked in my local community and there was really nobody standing up to say anything. And I didn't really want to do it. You know, I didn't ask for this. I just kind of, you know, sort of fell into it in a way. My wife came up to me and pointed her finger in my face and said, "Why don't you stop your bitching and moaning and get up and do something?" And, you know, okay. So, you know, before the station even started, I made this little course called the True and Ancient Rune Sessions. And I didn't think anybody was going to show up. I went and I got a little hall, and it wasn't a very big hall, but it was enough to hold a fair number of people. But like, it wasn't like a stadium or anything like that. It was just a little hall in a small in a building that you could rent space in, and of course, money and funds were limited. And I also decided, you know, I'm going to charge $30 a head, not because I was wanting to make money, but because I wanted to pay for the hall, and also just, you know, if somebody put something out there, they were more likely to show up. And I didn't really have a lot of idea that there was going to be a good response to this. Even when I walked into the hall, I thought, you know, wow, what if I go up there and there's only one person? Or what if I go up there and there's nobody? Well, I guess I'm going to give them to my wife then. I walked into a full room. And you know what? They came back to every session, and each session was 4 hours long. And then after the end of the session, they said, "Well, we can't stop this now. So what do you want to do?" "Well, do you want to meet?" "Yes, we do." And all of a sudden, we had a kindred in Edmonton. Alberta, Canada. And it's been in existence and in operation continuously since then. And you know, there's powerful things going on with that. And then we began, and this is separate from the Kindred, the station is, the network is, you know, okay, you see all these different arguments online. Well, we are going to support the entire faith of our people. And this is a Frithstead, and it's a place where people will show mutual respect for one another, because if you take a look at other religions in the world, there's many different splinter groups and many different denominations or aspects of, you know, this view is right and that view isn't, and so on and so forth, and they bicker among themselves. But when it comes to their faith, they'll all work together to try and promote that. And I said, well, you know what, if they can do that, then why can't we? And so we have network partners from every stripe that you can imagine, you know, from Universalist to Folkish, and every stripe in between. And we say, okay, no bashing of anybody else. This is not for that. There's all kinds of venues out there. If you want to argue, go at it, but don't do it here. Here, we are presenting to the world, who's probably never heard what we even do before, and let them see a united front, that, yeah, there's differences, but when it comes to the actual faith of our ancestors, we don't disagree on that. And, you know, we're putting that forward, and we're really glad to have you on board. And you know, I'm hoping that this is something that's going to be a help to you and to the channel and the messages you want to get out there. Yeah, I was just wondering, along with the YouTube channel itself, do you have any new innovations or any new things that you plan to do with the YouTube channel?
I do. Actually, I first of all wanted to do narrated videos with like this background that I have right now, and to talk about things instead of just putting out text and music. One reason is copyright issues. If I use music in my videos, I have to be very careful which music to use, and I basically run out of music that I can use freely. And the other thing is that a lot of my subscribers said, can you do those narrated? And at first I was quite reluctant, because I'm from Austria and my accent is awful, and people keep telling me I sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and do you really want to hear that narrating something? And yeah, it was also my wife who got me into it and said, the hell, do something. Don't just sit there, do something. And that's one thing where I think that our ancestors respected women so much, because I think they have basically had the same struggles with themselves, and it was their women who said, do something, don't just sit here and think about it. And yeah, so she gave me the courage to actually try it, and yeah, let's see how many people complain about my accent.
Yeah, I don't think too many people are going to complain about your accent. In fact, I think if you came over here, you would probably get more attention at the bar than any of us, because of course that's exotic, and people would be, you know, and we don't think we have an accent. Nobody thinks from their own country that they have an accent when they're talking to, you know, people that are indigenous to their own region. But, you know, when we go other places, you know, when somebody points their finger and says, we know you're from Canada because you have an accent. Yeah, we all have it. And, you know, when you're starting to deal internationally, that's not a bad thing. It's something as well that draws the attention. So yeah, don't be daunted by that. Don't be daunted by that.
Another thing that I wanted to do with my channel is focusing more on the pop culture. Like, say, I wanted to do analysis of Vikings, the BBC show, go through each episode and show what they depicted quite good, what they depicted completely wrong, which was okay, which was awful, and to give an idea about how much historical accuracy there actually is in Vikings. It's not too much, but it's still one of the best shows out there that I know for the faith. And I think that will get quite some attention. I also want to do similar things with other movies and series, and of course computer games, because the Norse mythology is becoming so popular in every kind of fantasy setting that I think people would like to know more about it. I mean, with the expansion Wrath of the Lich King, it even entered World of Warcraft, and a huge audience of, I think, 15 million people or something who play the game, who love the mythology, the characters in the expansion, and have no idea where they actually originate. And then, of course, there's Marvel with Thor and their depiction of Thor and the whole Marvel Universe thing. And I think it could also be very interesting to those people to learn about how Thor is in the sagas and how much of Marvel is actually based on the sagas in which they kind of messed up or made up. And I hope to reach many people that way, because most young people, if you tell them about, I'm gonna teach you history, they will back up and say, oh God, no, please don't. And if you say, I'm going to teach you about Marvel comics or computer games, they are, hey, I'm all ears, start. And yeah, I hope to reach people that way.
And I think that that will be successful because, you know, there is such an interest in that. And I think that it runs deep inside the consciousness of our people too, because of the fact that there's a resonance there. But many people, if not most people, have no idea where it comes from. And, you know, I think that's great, especially, you know, taking a look at what they changed and you know, is inaccurate, and then the stuff that they didn't, comparing and contrasting, so to speak, with what the lore actually says about these things, and giving people that understanding, because it's something that I think, you know, we're in the generation right now where we're going to either lose it or we're going to have something to pass on. And you know, we've got to work on that. Is there anything that you would like to share with your heart to our listeners that you know, may or may not have anything to do even with the questions that we've been asking here, but just something that you want to share with our listeners? I'm going to pass the mic over to you here, and you know, what you want to share, what you feel in your heart, you just feel free to do that.
Yeah, the most important thing I want to share is, before you start practicing runes, please watch the runic series of the NRR, because I spent the last weeks watching all videos of the runic series, and I so wish that I had those available like 15 years ago when I started with them, because so many things that you could do wrong with runes, I did wrong because no one told me to be careful. I had this very special experience with the rune Thurisaz, which you in your runic series said, be very careful, don't mess with it. Well, I didn't know anything about it, so I just carried it with me for, I intended to carry each rune 1 month with me and see how its energies influence my behavior and my life. And I did the same with Thurisaz. As it happened, I was making holiday in Tunisia at that time, and I was a bit afraid of the sea, because the sea is very big. I come from the mountains. I've never seen so much water. I was afraid of sharks, afraid of anything. So I didn't want to go into the water because there may be, you know, streams or something, and I'm not that a good swimmer. And so I took Thurisaz and, you know, used the rune's power to get over my inconfidence, so to speak, and to conquer my fear. And that I did. The rescue swimmers had to stop me from swimming out into the deep ocean, because I felt so powerful and so gargantuan that I thought I could just walk all the way to America or something. I actually wanted a shark to attack me because I felt like I could so beat the thing up. And the rescue swimmers had to stop me, and in the night of the same day, I entered a bar provoking a bar fight. It was the very first bar fight I ever got in, and I actually started it because I felt the need to, I don't know, I felt so big and so powerful, and I so felt the need to do something with it. I couldn't control myself. And I wouldn't say I won the bar fight, but I spent the rest week recovering from the bar fight. So yeah, I can really tell you, be very careful when using runes. And I made a similar experience with the rune Now This, which changes your fate, kind of, and it totally changed my fate. When I used Now This, I broke up with my girlfriend of the time. I moved to another country. I got into a new relationship, a new job, and basically my whole life was turned upside down. Actually, I'm quite happy with the changes, but if I had known what will change when I'm using the rune, I would have thought twice before doing it. And I really appreciate all the work you do with your channel and with the radio and the runic series in special, because I think they are very, very valuable, and I really hope that that our listeners watch them and are careful before they practice with the runes. And I thank you for that and all the work that you do.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very honored. One of the things that we really need to focus on is the balancing of energies, and that's part of the self. And you know, as I went through the runic series, I was trying to impress upon everyone that was listening to it, you know, start at the beginning, because each rune is an initiation into the rune that comes after it. And each row, because there's 3 rows, 3 ayats, is a completion of an initiatory cycle. And you know, you go through that, and you're actually building yourself up to the point where you can handle all the energies of the runes, or at least work with them, and have self-transformation, because you know, you're not wanting to use the runes to find out who wins the next horse race. You're wanting to use the runes for what they were meant to be used for, and that is as gateways to the creative and destructive powers of the multiverse. And even Odin and the gods use the runes. And you know, that's powerful, and that should tell us, you know, hey, hold on a second here, you know, I'm not going to invoke Thurisaz or Thorn or whatever name you want to call it to help me win the next video game. You know, this is serious stuff. We need to have that respect and do that.
If you would invoke Thurisaz to win a computer game, you would end up smashing your computer.
Quite possibly, or else. If someone wanted to contact you, I don't know whether you use email or whether there's you use the messaging feature on YouTube or whatever. Is there a way that people can get a hold of you that you would feel comfortable sharing?
Of course. Mainly, if you want to get in contact with me, the best idea is to leave a comment on my videos. I usually check them multiple times a day. You could also send me a message on YouTube. I also check these. Or if you want a more private contact, you can also use my email address, which is orkarisber in one word @gmail.com. And I also check these regularly.
Excellent. And of course, we're going to be releasing this interview on Monday, which, as I just checked the calendar here, is the 7th of September. And we're going to be releasing information that David has shared with us, as well as contact information that he's just mentioned, on our social media platforms, which is Facebook and Google Plus and Twitter, and also LinkedIn, Instagram. Instagram is the one that we use intermittently because of the fact that it's so linked to the mobile phone that I found it, as the dinosaur that I am, the most difficult one to figure out. So sometimes things don't get on there, not because we didn't want to put it there, but because I basically don't know how to use it very well. But we get it out through the main platforms. And of course, we'll have that on our podcast server site, which is nrr.podbean.com. That's kind of like a little blog with a player. And you can also, as listeners, in case you didn't realize this, whether you're on our main website, which is northernrunesradio.com, or whether you're on our podcast server site, you can share the player with people. And if you have websites of your own, you can actually embed the player in your own website if you want to. You can be a partner with us in a general sense just by sharing the actual medium, and you can do that and get the word out, because we need to wake our people up. We need to wake people up to the fact that, you know what, we do have a history, we do have a heritage, we do have something of our own that is as valuable and as useful and as powerful as anything else out there in the world. And it's tailor-made for those of us of Northern European descent because it's our ancestry. And, you know, we have that in us. And, you know, when it comes to, you know, cultural exchange and so on and so forth, we have something just as valuable to put out there to explain to people as people from the East or people from the South or people from the, you know, any other corner of the globe have to share. And, you know, the sagas and the stories and the eddas and the tales that were told, the skaldic poetry, that special magical way in which they used to make their poems, you know, it's such a powerful way of speaking. And that's something that's valuable. You know, it's also unique. And, you know, we can do that. And that's not something that we should be ashamed of. And, you know, we could have that eager. It's okay. It's okay to be eager to study about these things and to know about them. And I hope that that's a message that gets across. And, you know, we promote, you know, things like what David is doing with the Orkar Isberg YouTube channel. And feel free, and please do click on the link, because the link that we have on our links page goes directly to his YouTube channel, the Orkar Isberg YouTube channel. You can take a look at all the things that he's got there. You can take a look at, you know, playlists that he has. You can subscribe to his YouTube channel and get updates whenever he puts something new. And of course, he'll be letting us know too. And we'll be posting links and various different things too, because we want to promote him and the work that he's doing. So I hope that you folks have enjoyed this interview, and I want to thank you very much again, David, for taking the time to be with us here today.
Thank you too.
Hail to each and every one of you, wherever you are in the world, and know that we appreciate you, and thank you for taking the time out of your day or your evening, depending on where you are and when you hear this, to listen to this interview. Hail until next time.